Good morning. This is the Bitcoin Morning Brief. I am a serious host today. This is Leah Wald. I am here with Tone Vase, Jimmy Song, and we have Giacomo Zucco back. This is very exciting. Giacomo, how's everything been going?
Well, now I have a very sexy voice. I can talk about. I can bless you as the godfather of the morning brief.
Godfather or Darth Vader?
Or that, or dying Darth Vader.
Oh boy, Jimmy, pretty background.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm sitting in my backyard because the cleaners are at my house again. I try not to be out here because there are mosquitoes and stuff. But yeah, I never heard of Godfather being sexy, but I guess that could be the case. I don't know. I'm not really a woman.
Fetishes are everywhere.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's the case. Yeah.
Maybe Giacomo will give us an offer that we can't refuse. So I guess we'll see.
That's right.
He's libertarian. He's not gonna do that.
That's true. Tone, how are you doing?
Good. I gotta get to the city. So after the show, I got a bunch of meetings in the city. So I gotta. Unfortunately, I live in Staten Island, which makes it kind of crappy. But I'll get there.
Well, let's start it then. All right, here we go. eBay for CryptoKitties raises $2 million from all-star VCs. So simply put, OpenSea, which is a startup coming out of Y Combinator, has raised, and it's technically a marketplace for users to buy and sell these items. To note, it's not just for CryptoKitties. Just putting it out there. Now, I was not the best at World of Warcraft, but offline, I am a dope Magic the Gathering player. Red deck, baby. So I do want to make the note, right, that the statement here is that, it also almost, the CryptoKitties almost shut down Ethereum because so many people were using these CryptoKitties before. Jimmy, what's going on in this story? What's your thoughts? I'll simply put it there.
Okay, well, I'm obviously a venture partner at Blockchain Capital. I actually wasn't exactly aware. I'm not aware of all the investments, but we are listed here as one of the funders. Kind of makes sense, right? It's a non-fungible token, and it's hard to figure out exactly where the market is on a non-fungible item. So it makes sense that some sort of like eBay-like thing is there for something like that. What's crazy to me is that they only raised 2 million and that they didn't go like the ICO route like everybody else. So that tells me they at least have that much integrity. Yeah, who knows exactly where this goes, but I mean, it's a digital bearer asset, so they can sort of trade it, but determining price is not at all easy, and an eBay sort of thing it makes all the sense in the world for that. I don't know how related to crypto it is, other than it enables this sort of thing, but we'll see where it goes.
Giacomo, for a long time, as we know, gaming has been a massive industry, maybe where a lot of you guys programmers started off. Is everybody, finally understanding just how much money can be making in the gaming space and, really putting their money where their mouth is and getting excited behind this?
Yeah, gaming is a huge market that everybody's looking right now. And also, you mentioned Magic the Gathering. Actually, Magic MT Gox was a Magic the Gathering online exchange. So the things are connected since the beginning. I agree with Jim that in theory, collectibles on the blockchain, digital collectibles, are some of the few items that really could use a blockchain somehow. Actually, if they are really unfungible, I'm not sure you need a blockchain for that. Probably you can just have the issuer, so the issuer of the collectible, using their private key, the public key, to sign a list of paper. But maybe you want a blockchain just to guarantee scarcity. So it's not as stupid as many other use cases. In that, I agree. Probably I will not use the Ethereum blockchain. Ethereum suck for this kind of things, and CryptoKitties just killed the network for 2 days. And also this ERC 721, I don't really think it's a good idea. But as Jimmy said, they didn't do an ICO, and also there is Blockstack there, and I like Blockstack guys. We live in a world where CryptoKitties are the less stupid use case that we can see on the news every day. So it's a strange war, but it's like that.
Thanks, Giacomo. Tone, response to what the gentlemen are saying?
Pretty similar to Giacomo. Like I mean, people are gonna come up with stupider and stupider like ideas as long as they're getting funding for it. The thing that makes no sense to me is why in the world would whoever is working on this, why in the world would they not ICO for this, right? Like if there is a demand for, an eBay for ICO tokens, and anything like this is going to start to actually gain traction because people are just dumber and dumber, then someone is going to ICO, and instead of raising 2 million is going to raise 20, 30, God knows how many million, and just crush whatever company this is. So I don't understand why VCs are wasting money on something like this, because someone else is going to ICO and have 10x the capital to do the same thing.
Well, can I respond to that? I'm going to argue that having too much money is actually not a good thing, and oftentimes the people with less money do a lot better job, especially when they're restricted in so many ways. Sometimes having less money acts as a forcing function to get more creative and inventive, and I imagine that's the case here. There's a reason why there are companies that have raised hundreds of millions and haven't put out any sort of product, whereas other ones that have no funding have gotten a lot further with with less resources. So,
right. But the recent Binance situation like throws a wrench into everything you just said, Jimmy.
What do you mean?
I mean, Binance just ICO'd, and they're now one of the most popular exchanges because they're printing their own money.
Yeah. I mean, but that's sort of like a short-term thing. I'm just saying it's not always correlated that more money equals better product or more popularity.
Also, it's not just the amount of money, but it's the condition at which you can use the money. When you get venture capital, they will put some restraints, some conditions, some check and balances. While when you just receive your Ether in exchange for token, you will probably just buy Lambo for the whole team immediately. But the good thing is that headline of this topic is Tone bashing people because they are not doing ICO. This is very, very funny.
No, I'm not. I mean, that's fine, right? They're not scamming. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, there's a difference, right? Like, I only call you a scammer if you're going to print your own money or create unlicensed, unregistered securities, right? So, like, no one here is scamming. It just makes no sense.
Sorry, I was on mute. Absolutely. And Jimmy, to your point, I completely agree. Having raised capital myself, the raise also determines valuation, and you absolutely never want to do a down raise. So I do think that this is interesting. It's a seed round. Sometimes the larger the round, the higher the price, the harder the next hurdle to hit. And I think constraints can also spark creativity. You have a smaller runway. You have to determine which resources you need to put them in. And so I do agree to your point. And also just, a last thing to note is, again, they're not just saying that it is for the CryptoKitties, that it's supposed to be a marketplace. So, it has the potential to pivot or provide other options. And so I guess, this smaller round could provide an opportunity for them to utilize that capital, hopefully in the right way. And since your VC is behind it, maybe you'll have a good say in how it turns out. So on to the next story. So we have Bloomberg partners with Novogratz to launch crypto index. So personally, I like this story. They're going to make analysis much easier and help compare between each of the coins that are in the crypto index, a way of not only how the index is doing, but also how all the elements are doing. To note, it's not just Bitcoin, however. It is Bitcoin, Ethereum Classic, Nero, Ripple, Zcash, EOS, Litecoin, and Dash. So that does make everything a bit more difficult, although for people trading all, you have a very helpful index. So Tone, is this what you were looking for in an index when you've mentioned index before? And how do you think using, these largest capitalized cryptos, is it the right way to do it? Did they pick the right ones? What are your thoughts?
No, I think this is ridiculously stupid and like very bad. Like when I first read the headline, I thought that, they were going to build a real Bitcoin index because Bloomberg are being stupid the way they built their Bitcoin index that I've been complaining about for at least 6 months now, where for some magical reason, the Bitcoin index in Bloomberg takes the weekends off and doesn't give you a price, when in reality, Bitcoin trades 24/7. So clearly the people that built the Bloomberg Bitcoin index have no clue what they're doing in building an index, which is kind of weird because Bloomberg are supposed to be experts at data. So that part really, really bothers me. Now, XRP is an outright scam. So is Zcash, so is EOS, and so is Ethereum in my book. So to me, this is completely ridiculous. The index that I'm looking for is a Bitcoin index that actually works, that gives you, a consistent price and something that we can put on TradingView so that all the traders and Coinigy or whatever else people are using, kind of like the S&P 500 index, so everyone is doing their charting off of the same price. Now, the only other index I would borderline approve of is, let's say, a proof of work index, right? Like if you want to put all of the tokens that are 100% proof of work without any mining reward going to the, the CEO of a company, if you want to make an index of decentralized proof of work coins that had fairly launched, I would be okay with that as well. But no, I'm not okay with putting, outright scams of people printing money for themselves into an index, and especially a Bloomberg index that's going to grow this bubble of, Bernie Madoff, fake scams bigger and bigger and bigger until it all goes to zero. And then people start, blaming, everyone and their mother for why it let it go that bad. Like I continue to say that, hey, don't blame Wall Street for 2008. You're the one that purchased the overpriced house.
Jimmy, what are your thoughts on what Tone is saying, just overall?
Well, I think he's absolutely right that this index is idiotic. I think the way they designed the index is something like by market cap, but capped at 30%, something like that. So it ends up Bitcoin is only 30% of the index, and Ethereum ends up being something like 30% of the index. So they're overweighing Ethereum significantly just because Bitcoin is just so dominant over everything else. And I believe the Novogratz Galaxy Digital Capital Management, they're heavy into EOS. So of course they want to make it more prominent in this index. So I suspect a very big, agenda here in just sort of releasing this index. And just because, this is like anything decentralized, despite their attempts to control sort of the narrative around this whole thing, I think we will see the users sort of saying, okay, this is a BS index, and we're not going to give it any weight, and we're only going to pay attention to something that's a lot more fair or more indicative.
I don't know, Jimmy. I don't know about that, right? Remember, Bitcoin dominance is only at like 40%, right? So that means there's 60% of idiots out there that want Bitcoin to die.
No, it's not 60% though. It's a completely manipulated index. And the fact of the matter is, if you look at like the actual people utilizing anything, or people actually using it as a store of value, look at price, look at transactions, look at almost anything. Bitcoin is the one, right? Like, and that's, I think I would have maybe more agreed with, these businesses are taking over maybe, before SegWit 2x, but I think what 2x proved was that the users are in control, and it's not these businesses, it's not the media narratives or whatever. It's the users, it's the holders, it's we who get to determine what gets utilized and what's actually useful. And any attempts to sort of subvert that will be met with stiff resistance.
I got a quick question for Jimmy, and it'll transition to Giacomo. Yes or no, do you think Michael Novogratz knows what a blockchain is?
I think he does.
I would be very surprised. I don't know him. Maybe Jimmy knows him more, but I would be very surprised. Many people in the blockchain industry do not know what a blockchain is.
Yeah. Maybe he at least knows the basics, but I did talk to him for like 15 minutes a couple of years ago or something like that. he seemed to know what it was. So I don't know. It's hard for me to say. He is a billionaire for a reason, and usually those guys are really smart. So I wouldn't doubt if he actually knows what he's talking about.
Roger Ver is a billionaire.
A non-convict billionaire.
Giacomo, do you have any last comments on this piece?
Well, as Jimmy said, market cap right now doesn't really mean anything because you will have to wait these kind of trades and prices for the volume. There are some coins that are just completely in the hands of the issuers. So there are fake volume on paid exchanges. So you're just it's super easy to pay an exchange to figure on the top 5. So they are just figuring they are just using a fake metric, and they are making it worse because they are capping to 30%. So they are hyper exposing. Silver lining is that there is a reason they are doing this, and is that buying Bitcoin directly is going easier and easier. So people can just buy the soon, hopefully the ETF or the futures or Bitcoin directly. And it's so easy that there would be probably no much value into a 100% Bitcoin index. If that's the case, that's a good news. It's so easy to get Bitcoin that Bitcoin indexes are so not appealing that these people is resorting to do Frankenstein scam index.
I like that. And then I just, to note, I brought up his tweet. So it just quickly says, so excited to announce our partnership with Bloomberg. The herd is on the move. This is an important...
I agree with that.
Yeah. And this is an important piece of the architecture that institutional accounts need to treat crypto as a new asset class. Just to note, right, Novogratz is a huge proponent of cryptos in general, Bitcoin specifically. I do like that he is putting his money and his clients' money where his mouth is. Lots of people do respect him even before he got into this. So to be determined on the index, I will say that when he's saying treat crypto as a new asset class, it is a new asset class. But personally, you guys can disagree, you know, Bitcoin is king. I see it as Bitcoin being the asset class with sub-asset classes with the alts. But yeah, we'll see if they start to understand this better, especially how they're allocating the index as you guys were speaking about.
You know what? I actually have no problem with him putting 70% of his client money into garbage and only 30% into Bitcoin. Again, this is how prominent hedge funds, you know, go bust. So I'm okay with that. Again, it's high net worth money, so I have no problem.
Extra cynicism this morning, Tom?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. So, okay, Chinese bit. Actually, it's hard to see without this highlighted.
At least finally a story I like. Jeez.
Would you like some steak with that salt?
Jeez. Chinese Bitcoin mining giant set for 1 billion IPO in Hong Kong. Yeah, so Canaan Creative is what it's called, is gearing up for a 1 billion IPO in Hong Kong in order to pull this thing off. They're researching where to do it. It's not established, but it looks like it's going to be Hong Kong. It's not published yet. They tried, just a note, they tried before to do this on the Chinese third board market, but it was rejected. Then they tried again as a backdoor listing approach, and that deal also fell through. But they seem to have a great reputation in terms of the quality of their mining hardware, but I am no tech specialist. So Jimmy, what do you think about the story, and what can you tell us about Canaan or Canaan Creative?
I think it's pronounced Canaan, but I'm not sure. I think that's
I thought it was Canaan.
Canaan.
Canaan, isn't that how you pronounce it in the Bible or something? Like Canaan, the land of Canaan? I don't know. Anyway, somebody in the chat could tell us. As far as mining, I've said this before, though, only 2 businesses in Bitcoin that seem to be making money are mining manufacturers and exchanges. And we know all about the exchanges. Canaan, they make their hardware. They have a reputation for not necessarily getting the highest hash rate, but their equipment tends to last a little longer. A lot of mining equipment tends to be designed to last only about a year or so. But they source like higher quality parts and stuff like that, so they last a little longer. They have less problems breaking down and things like that, as opposed to say somebody like Bitmain. Makes sense that they're raising money through an IPO. Kudos to them for not going the ICO route. Perhaps it's prudent from a legal perspective for them to do that. But $1 billion is not a crazy valuation. Just if you do the math and sort of what scales that you can get with this stuff and the margins that you can get, especially as they get more money and more scale, the costs on this stuff just come down dramatically. And designing a lot of these ASICs is sort of a one-time cost, and then afterwards you can sort of reutilize a lot of that same work for a lot of other things. This is also why Bitmain keeps coming out with like an ASIC for a different altcoin every week. They know that like whole mining manufacturing, ASIC manufacturing space. Great that they're going to get more competition. Bitmain obviously is still the 900-pound, or I think the expression is 800-pound gorilla. And having more capital for somebody like Canaan is going to help them, expand and do more. And they do seem like good guys in this space. I just want a lot more competition. I want Halong Mining, and there's another group out of Canada. There's so many that are coming on. I want to see all of them just compete and make this more of a commodity and less of a trade secret.
Thanks, Jimmy. Giacomo, 2 questions. If we can go to the tech, as I'm always trying to learn. One, what kind of ASIC is this? And also a fun one, do you see any collusion or link here with Bitmain?
So I will start with the second. I think that the fact, so first of all, I agree with Jimmy that that's an incredible day today, because we are commenting 2 news in which companies are doing an IPO where they do give real shares to the investors. This is incredible. So this maybe could be telling of a trend. I don't know. Maybe it's just a coincidence. So you're right that collusion is important to analyze and to track and to avoid, because if we have 10 ASIC producers, but they are all linked to the same entity, then we still have a total control over the hash rate, like we did when Bitmain had 80%. So I think that it's very important that they are doing the IPO outside China and in Hong Kong, because that gives maybe more reassurance that there are not strong ties with the Chinese government itself. There are reasons to suspect is very connected with Bitmain. So I would say good news. Halong, Samsung themselves are doing something through a Chinese producer, then Bitmain, then the Avalon stuff with Canaan, and we are going toward an ASICs commodification. So what kind of ASICs? It looks like from the article, looks like they have the Bitcoin ASICs, but also Litecoin script ASICs, if I'm not wrong. So that's interesting as well, because, for example, Bitmain is starting to attack a lot of altcoin mining algorithms. So it's interesting to understand if the Bitcoin mining algorithm is going to go toward the commodification, while the altcoin mining algorithm is not. We would have yet another case for, let's say, maximalism, because we would have the big dominant market getting more and more commodified, while the altcoin should remain trade secrets of some specific big miner. It seems that they are creating Litecoin script ASICs as well. We will see.
Thank you, Giacomo. And Tone, response to both, and also just something that I noted was that it seems like quite a small amount of revenue that they're doing right now, only 156 million.
It's not that small. It's 156 million
of revenue though, not profit.
Oh,
well, we're too used to like the ICO numbers. Right. That's a lot of money, Leah.
That's true. I mean, I would like to see profit.
Okay, so
yeah,
I'm a big fan of the Avalon miners. And these are the miners that I'm supposed to be running. I just have a little bit of a problem setting it up. I will say that these are some of the harder miners to actually set up if you're not an expert at mining. But most of these mining machines go to, the professionals, so they know how to set them up. I have been struggling replacing my 741 with the 821. I actually brought one of them back. I wish I knew we were doing this story when I got out of my car this morning, because I brought it back from my, space in the woods. I brought back the 741 miner. It's sitting in a car. Looks exactly like that picture. These are the miners that I'm running. I have huge respect for this company. It's on a very short list of about 10 companies I would even allow to, let's say, be a sponsor of a tone-based show or of a conference that I would be involved in putting together. So yeah, and huge props for going IPO and not a scammy ICO. I've been talking great things about the Canaan company that makes these Avalon miners, and I'm a huge fan. So there you go. Something really, really good is finally happening in the space, and we're actually covering it on our morning show.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. And just from my own perspective, I helped structure an IPO in China previously, actually, for a company I was working for. And just timing is critical also to note to the success of a private company IPO. But it's not everything. But I do think personally that this is really great timing, right? And also scaling up your startup to act like a public company is also important. I think they're potentially doing a really good job. You guys know better than I. So I agree with you guys. And also, I think if they could pull this off, and raise a bill, actually $2 billion, right? Then a lot of more stuff can get to more adoption, more players in the space, to your point, Jimmy and Giacomo, and getting away from monopoly of Bitmain and Bitfury. So I like this story too. So Winklevoss twins gained 5th patent for exchange traded products, ETPs, using crypto. They did it again. 5th patent for the Winklevi this year alone. So this patent application allows it to settle ETPs, which are different than ETFs, everybody, using cryptos. And it outlines specifically systems, methods, and program products for crypto-based asset trading. Tone, as I was learning the difference between ETFs and ETPs, GBTC, I've learned definitely is actually an ETP. Do you think that this has the possibility for helping the Winklevi twins get their projects accepted by the SEC?
Not really. I mean, this just, I guess this patent will help them, eliminate some competition if they want to. I'm not even sure how you patent an ETP product. Like, I'm just, I guess you can patent the formula that you use to weigh your index. Maybe you can patent that. So I'm not exactly sure what they're patenting. But the problem that the SEC had with the Winklevi product was that they were going to be the custodians of the underlying Bitcoin. They were going to be responsible for the formula to calculate the price of the ETF or ETP, and they're going to be, and the ETP itself is going to be their product. Like that just doesn't happen in the space, right? So when so they were just gonna have hands over too many pots. That was the biggest problem that I heard the SEC had with the product that the Winklevoss twins are offering. So I'm not really sure if this is gonna do anything, but it keeps them relevant, keeps them in the news. Keep developing these patents. Bitcoin really doesn't care, but have fun.
Jimmy, what are your thoughts on what Tone is saying?
So first of all, Leah, how is it that you've had like every job ever? I mean, like next show, we're going to hear like, when I was a river guide on the Amazon River.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, you're going to hear that. You're actually going to hear that.
That sounds awesome. Tone made me lay out a timeline one time. He got upset with me. And so I had to actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible to do that many things and like not be 100 years old. But anyway.
He finally accepted. He was like, okay. You, Jimmy.
Anyway.
It's like when I flew in this helicopter right over the Statue of Liberty because
yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, let's go back to the story.
The Winklevi.
Yeah, so I mean, I think patents are mostly fraudulent. I worked at a company that examined patents for lawsuits and things like that, and figured out like the expert report and things. And most of them are pretty crappy patents. So I imagine this is one of them. This is I think one of those method patents or something, systems methods, and yeah, it's a method patent. So it's I don't know how enforceable this is or whatever, but I agree with Tone. This is mostly for publicity. Who the hell knows if this is enforceable or worth anything? I'm sure a patent troll would love to get something like this in any case. But regardless, I'm not sure why you buy or sell stuff on like the stock exchange when you could just go buy Bitcoin using
Yeah,
Square,
Jimmy,
Cash
that's
App.
what Leah's show is all about. There is lots of reasons for that. That's what the Hyperwave show explained on several occasions.
Okay, well, I mean, maybe for an institutional investor, but for an individual.
And more importantly, retirement funds and huge tax implications as to why you benefit from using these products.
Okay, all right, maybe there's some regulatory thing that bureaucrats made so that life would be harder for this sort of thing. But whatever. Not that big a concern to I think most people that are in this space. Maybe for potential people coming in, but yeah, it's okay. I don't find this that important or interesting to at this point in time.
Yeah. Very interesting. Either it's them or they have, advisors or someone that's pushing this. I mean, a fifth patent in 1 year when their ETFs still haven't been approved is interesting, at least to me. Giacomo, what are your thoughts on what Tone and Jimmy are saying? And then also, about Gemini, if we're speaking about the exchange.
So I totally agree with Jimmy about patents. I don't like them. I think they hurt the market. Still, I mean, who cares? Probably they're not even enforceable, and it would be fun to see the twins fighting with Craig Wright over tons of patents. It's not really relevant because people, the market will mostly ignore them anyway. But they're not a good thing. Well, I do think that stuff like ETFs on Bitcoin are necessary. I disagree with Jimmy about this because I think that there are at least three reasons for which a normal old school investor would use this kind of instruments. The first one is, as Jimmy said, bureaucratic, regulatory, tax, as also Tone explained, tax reasons. So bureaucracy, probably you don't want to explain to the taxman that you own some private key that moves some Bitcoin. You want to just own a part of something which is normal, and you raise your phone and the bank just buys the stuff for you. The second reason is also security. So to take control of your own security is a big power, but also a big responsibility. And many normal users, they would want to outsource that to other institutions. There is a reason to fight to not outsource that if you want to be sovereign and if you need censorship resistance or stuff. But if you don't need censorship resistance because you are just a regulated KYC ML normal old school investor, then it's normal that you just outsource security to centralized institutions. And the third is market, like what is the right price? What do you do with fork coin and high drops? What are the market risks? So for security, market, and regulations, I think it makes sense to have external traditional financial products.
Leah, you're muted.
Muted.
All right. Hello again. So we have a tweet here. Jimmy, what's going on? What's the background on Matonis?
Yeah, so John Matonis was very much involved in Bitcoin back in 2013. And he started sort of advocating for big blocks. He very much went towards the Bitcoin Cash side of the community. And he was working for Enchain, which is famously founded by Craig S. Wright, probably to do more scamming. But whatever happened in the last couple of months, he has left nChain. So I don't know what's going on, but we're not really sure what he's doing next. But yeah, I mean, he's one of the people I think that a lot of people that kept telling people, I think, that Craig is Satoshi or something like that. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe he's he's doing something else, or he realizes the badness of what he's done. I don't know, but it's just kind of a strange story. Nobody really knew about it until this tweet, like maybe 8 hours ago or something like that. So totally wondering what's going on there with John.
Giacomo, you responded to his tweet.
Yeah. I say that because he's saying, I've left the company because I disagree with the situation of pumping Bcash because I believe in network effects. And I said, yeah, but you were working with the conman, which provided false digital signatures and predated fraudulently blog posts. So this is a liar that it has been exposed with certainty as a liar and a fraudster. So even if we are in an industry where, everybody's a scammer, but one of the problems of us calling out scammers is that it's difficult to distinguish some level of scam with this level of scam. I mean, he's actually a con man, a con artist. So I say, John, maybe you should also explain why you do that, you did associated with him. And then he didn't respond. And Alphonse, the alpaca, asked me, did you see any other people associated with Craig Wright explaining stuff how they are? And something is fishy there. Also, I mean, John, I met John in Copenhagen in 2016. He was in a panel actually arguing for small blocks against big blockers in June 2016. So after he says that he recognized Craig Wright as Satoshi, and after that he just go along with the Bcash scam. So it's a very, very strange situation. I mean, it's irrelevant for Bitcoin, but from a gossip point of view, from the human weak gossip sensitive point of view, I would love to understand what the hell happened to John Matonis.
I guess we will start finding out, and I could be totally wrong, but at least my background on, or at least studies of anarchist history, probably Giacomo, you know better. This looks like the anti-gov anarchists that, I mean, if that's Greek, that was XRK, I can't pronounce it.
Leah, in your past career of KGB supervisor, I've seen a lot of strange stuff.
Okay, well, geez, I'm getting myself in trouble. I will turn it over to the weather report.
Oh, wait, can I comment on that tweet?
Oh, absolutely. Sorry.
It will be really quick. Look, the answer to any and all your questions is always money. Okay, so I don't care what John Matonis's reason was, but I guarantee you that when you break it down, it's going to come down to money. I don't know what form. I don't know if it's money in the form of Bcash, if it's money in the form of Bitcoin, gold coins, I don't know, rare paintings, or US dollars or any foreign currency. The answer to any and all your questions is money. And this is why I'm a little more aggravated this morning than usual, because my Twitter feed has completely blown up based on the fact that I provided my probabilities of where I think the price of Bitcoin is headed. And because for every single person you will ever meet, including yourself, other than probably the people on this panel, otherwise they wouldn't be on this panel, the answer to any and all your questions is money and how you can get more money. And you don't care if you get this money from unqualified investors that are going to go broke when your company goes bust or not. So therefore, people have a hard time comprehending that I look at the price of Bitcoin and this entire ecosystem with as little bias towards me making more money as possible. And that is the opposite how everyone else, including probably yourself, is looking at the situation. And this is why everyone is either screaming, I have a short position that I have to talk down, or oh, I'm an idiot for not taking a short position and making more money if I think Bitcoin price is going to go down. But again, just think about it. The answer to any and all your questions is more money. And when you run into a person that doesn't really care about making more money, you have a conceptual problem of understanding what they may or may not be thinking.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I want to agree with Tone a little bit. John Mentone has sold his soul, basically when he joined Enchain. And once you've sold your soul, you can't really buy it back. And that's more or less the situation he finds him in. Once you've sold your soul for money, you're always going to be selling your soul for money. I don't know how you kind of recover from that. This is why it's so important, like, not to fall into the trap of ICOs or altcoins or whatever. I mean, I'm sure people on this panel have gotten lots of offers. I know I certainly have, to go pump something for a lot of money. And I've refused because I don't think it's worth it. And there are more things that are more important than money. And if you do sell your soul, it's going to be a bad idea. Anyway, back to the weather report about the specific amount of money that you need to send in or send along with your transaction in order to get it in. I did more transactions yesterday, 1 Satoshi per byte, perfectly fine. And you can see the spikes here where it always sort of seems to crash all the way down to almost zero. And that's a very good thing. That means that your transaction will get in for 1 Satoshi per byte. Typically, that's on the order of like 5 to 8 cents, depending on how many inputs you're utilizing. But yeah, it's you can probably get in 1 Satoshi per byte in like an hour, 30 minutes to an hour. If you need to get it in right away, I would say maybe 10 to 20 today will be fine. But yeah, it's, I still don't understand who's paying way too much. Even 20 to 50 is way too much.
Probably Coinbase. They never cease to amaze in their stupidity.
Well, it could be Coinbase, but I think the fact that it wasn't happening for a long time and tells me that it's probably not them, because they consistently take up like 20 to 30% of the blockchain. And we would have seen it during the months prior when these big green bands weren't there before. So, I'm guessing it's somebody else that changed it, or maybe there are more people just sort of like moving around multi-sig coins or something like that. I'm not really sure, but we'll have to see.
Thank you, Jimmy. And given Tone, thank you for what you were mentioning before. Let's see how well your probabilities are working out.
Not very well, unfortunately. All right, let me do screen share. Where is it? Here. I've only done it 800,000 times. Okay, so here's the weekly chart. We are pulling back up slightly. We're off the lows, and we did not dip below 9,000. We were able to bounce off of the just above 9,000. We are sitting smack in the middle of this weekly candle. I believe today is Thursday, so we're about almost a little past halfway into the week. And let's see how this candle closes. Now, the 30-week moving average continues to trend to the upside, which is positive. The price is below that moving average, which is negative. The 7-week moving average is trending to the upside, which is positive. The price is above that moving average, which is positive. But the moving average of the 7-week is below the 30-week moving average, which is negative. We also bounced off of the 50-week moving average. And once again, I remain of the opinion that, based on this tweet that I sent out, that this to me remains looking very eerie similar to the May 2014 period, like the current May 2018 period. And let's see if we can break out of this to the upside by breaking the 50% Fibonacci, by breaking the 30-week moving average, and by seeing the 7-week moving average rise above the 30-week moving average. Until all those things occur, I will not assume Bitcoin is back into a bull market, and I will remain neutral / bearish, slightly more bearish than neutral. The daily chart, let's take a look. The daily chart is pulling back up. We are on a red 4 on the way to a 9, but it has pulled back up a little bit. I'm assuming this was the red 2. I have to pull up all my numbers here. I don't see them. Inputs. Yeah, let's undo that. So we are on a red 4 of 9, but we're at a point where the price is potentially going to flip, because tomorrow all we got to do is trade above the closing price of 93.70, and the price will flip to a green 1. However, what you have to worry about on the daily chart is the fact that you have the 128-day moving average sloping to the downside, and it has already rejected your price once. If it rejected it once, it can do it again. So you have a level of resistance at the 128-day moving average. Again, I will remain skeptical even on a daily chart as long as the price stays below this green line. After that, you can potentially jump on a bullish trade, but then you're going to have the 200-day moving average resistance. There's basically almost no bullish trades, in my opinion, that are giving you a good enough risk-reward ratio to take on that trade. So I would not be looking for any bullish trades here until the market has gotten completely out of the bear trend and into the bull trend. So we did not get a 9 on a 12-hour chart, as I kind of suspected on our last video. So we have now flipped over. Now, again, this is a glass half full, glass half empty situation. By only getting to an 8 and not getting to a 9, you potentially set up a situation where it's going to go back down and actually going to give you a 9 for a real bounce. On the other hand, you did not get a 9 that could lead to a countdown, and you're still working on a countdown to the upside. So you see this plus sign? That was a 13. But to get an actual sequential 13, it needs to close above this candle here. So, so yeah, you'd have to go back up. So again, it's a bit of a mixed bag here. You did bounce off of the 50-period moving average, off of a beautiful reversal candle. Traditional trading, not looking at these numbers, would tell you you buy above the hammer candle. And if that's how you trade, that would be your long entry here. And if the green 2 goes above the green 1, that's confirmation with the indicator that you can take on a bullish trade. Again, would I take this trade? Probably not. I would, as a swing trader and more of a long-term viewer on the market, I would continue to try to time bearish trades and take small losses if they don't work out for me, because I believe we are still in a bear market. What is this? This is the 4-hour chart. The 4-hour chart is on a 9. It's not the kind of 9 I jump at, screaming sell, 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 because I like seeing these 9s, on dojis or shooting stars at the top of a trend and not the 4th candle in a range. But it's still a 9. It's to be respected. So I would look for a 1 to 4 candle correction and then reevaluate potentially more upside from there. You are stuck under the 50-period moving average. And finally, the 1-hour chart hasn't really done anything. It is in the cloud, and it's flip-flopping back and forth. I wouldn't really, nothing really helpful there. And as a final note, please check out if you are interested in learning the basics of trading, and check out my Philadelphia trading workshop that takes place all day on Saturday, May 19th. And you can go to tonevase.com to register for that if you are interested. All right.
Thank you, Tone. Thank you, everybody. Unfortunately, I will not be at Consensus. I will have some pretty major surgery, but it sounds like the boys, maybe Giacomo, maybe Sans Giacomo, won't be at Consensus. But Jimmy, what else are you up to pre and post Consensus?
Well, I'm definitely going to be speaking on the first day. I'm going to try to go to the BitDevs meetup on Tuesday. It's like a block stream party that same day as well. You know, that's sort of counter to the Ripple Snoop Dogg party. So that'll be interesting.
I'm sorry, which event is conflicting with the Ripple Snoop Dogg? Because I've been invited to that one.
Yeah, it's
don't know
the
why, but I've
block
been
stream
invited.
party. Yeah, I've been invited too. It's the block stream party. With Blockstream and Chaincode are doing something. I'm not sure.
All right,
I remember,
okay.
Tone. That was actually the first time I met you last year.
Right.
Was
Okay. So here's the thing. I
Love Snoop Dogg.
I have no clue what after party events are going on. I am not planning to RSVP for any of them. And if I show up and I get in, I'll make up my mind, 5 minutes before an event. And if I get in, great. If I don't get in, I'll find a bar next door and I'll just tweet out where I'm at, and you're all welcome to join me instead.
That's fun. It'll be fun. I've actually RSVP'd to several events. I like having optionality in what I get to attend. The New York seminar is pretty much full. I have a capacity of 40 people for that room, and I like, if you include the instructors, I basically have 39 right now, so I can't really accept any. But Toronto has a lot of room, so please register for Toronto. That's May 28th, 29th. I also announced scholarships for Toronto, so please apply. That's if you want to go take a look, it's programmingblockchain.com. Sao Paulo's also obvious in June. June 12th and 13th, and Denver is July 9th and 10th. All of them have spots, so feel free to go take a look or apply for scholarships. It looks like we're going to have at least a few rolling scholarships for each of these, and there's a lot of companies interested in getting Bitcoin developers. So if you're a competent developer, you might be able, and you're able to answer a lot of the questions on the scholarship application, especially the technical one. You might be able to get in for a lot of these for free. And the path to getting into Bitcoin development is easier than ever. And I actually talked about that in the video I did yesterday with Raj Nair of ItBit about how to sort of get into that. Check out that video if you're interested. I'm still getting a lot of feedback on the Tim Draper thing I did 2 days ago. Lots of people just sort of like randomly emailing me, so glad you did that or whatever. Check that out as well. But yeah, that's about it for me.
Tone?
Oh no, that's about it. I guess I should. I'm always debating if I want to say this out loud or not. But again, I'm getting an unlimited amount of criticism about my view on the future price of Bitcoin. People wanting me to bet, continue to bet crazy money. That they're not happy with my current $10,000 bet. So look. If you believe Bitcoin is going up, please bring $100 bills to Consensus, and I'll be glad to sell you some. There will be limits because I don't have that much Bitcoin. But yeah, I'm absolutely willing to sell because I do think the price is going to go down. But it has to be cash in hand. So there you go. So if I randomly run into you at Consensus, there you go.
Tone, I think that you're correct, but you could also talk to Ricky Williams and learn astrology if you just want, a second opinion there.
Exactly. We're trying to do that.
Yeah, we tweeted at him. He hasn't tweeted back at us. I don't know what's going on.
Man, Giacomo?
Well, my plan this year was to not go to Consensus, but to take the same hotel just to hang out with the people in the side parties, because everything at Consensus is a scam, except for Jimmy's speech, of course, and probably a few others. But since the baby is so young, we will probably stay here this year.
The Bitcoin baby. All right, everybody, thank you so much. And you can listen to this later on iTunes. Thanks to the World Crypto Network. Thank you guys so much on that. Jimmy?
This song is done.
Giacomo?
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys. Good luck trading.